Hey guys, Henry here. I just wanted to make a quick video. I shot a bear last night, black bear. So there she is. And I just wanted to make. I'm working on skinning it and about to quarter it up and everything right now. And I'm just kind of taking a look at things. I just wanted to talk about my arrow performance. So she came in at about 5:45, like 5:45 last night. Came in from my left side. I saw her at probably 75 yards or so. Came in. It seemed like she was going behind me. She was actually at one point like 6 o'clock, right directly behind me, and I had no shot. And then she ended up kind of meandering around to my left and coming out, and I put a shot on her. It was like 18 yards once I got down. And I shot, and it hit her in the high a little bit, a little bit more forward than I would have liked, and it just loud crack. And I saw her kind of jog off. She didn't run full tilt, but she, didn't walk either. She kind of just took off, and I watched her go about 50 yards in front of me, maybe 60 yards, with the arrow, with the lighted nock still sticking out of her. And I watched her go down into a really deep ravine. So I was like, "Oh God, this is not good." I hit the shoulder. I don't think I'm going to recover this. So I waited a half hour. I climbed down. I go to where I shot her, and there's no sign at all. There's no fur. There's no blood. Nothing at all. And I was like, "Oh God, this is not getting any better. This is getting worse." So I meet up with my hunting partner. He was over in his stand on the other above the meadow. So he came down. He met up with me, and we start walking the general location that I saw the bear go. And we're walking, and right about the point that I thought that I saw it dip down into the ravine, he happened to see my lighted nock, which if you look, the plastic cover is actually busted off from the force of the impact, but the light was still lit. It was still, let's see if it actually will kick on, but it was still glowing somehow, and he saw it because it was dusk by this point. So we found the arrow, and it was intact. So somehow this arrow got pulled out of her. I don't know if she stopped and pulled it out, or if it got hooked on something and it pulled itself out, but it was covered end to end in blood, and there was bubbles in it. So that got me thinking maybe there was some hope. And then right after that, I found a couple teeny tiny drops of blood, like pinhead size. So I'm on my hands and knees tracking this blood, and it's a drop here, a drop there, a drop here. I got my flashlight on. It's dark. My hunting partner's a couple, maybe 30 yards behind me or something, with his pistol ready in case this injured bear comes charging at me. And I'm just tracking, and the blood trail's getting better and better and better. There's more blood. Drops are getting bigger and bigger, closer together. And then finally, after probably about 75 yards or so, I find a big pool, like about the size of a bowling ball, of light-colored, nice-looking lung blood, and it looked like there was like some slime in it, like maybe she had coughed something up. So I just kept tracking, and eventually I found her. And it was down in the ravine about halfway, and it's so steep, there was no way we were getting it out at night. So I gutted it. I field dressed it there, gutted it out and spread it out, and just tried to let it cool. And then we went back and we grabbed it in the morning. We had to actually use a winch on the machine to pull it out, but we got it out. And I'm taking a look at her now, and so I shot her on this side, and I hit, this is the blade of the shoulder right here. This is the entrance wound right there, and I hit, if you look, square on that scapula. I mean, I dinged it right in the middle. I mean, bullseyed it. And honestly, when I shot, I was middle of the middle for bears, right? You want to put it back here, get away from this nasty shoulder. But she was quartering to me a little bit more than I thought, and I kind of just had whitetail shot placement. I mean, I was deer hunting. I wasn't even trying to kill a bear, but she came out, and I had a tag. So I just sent it, and I put it right on where, and I mean, a deer, it would probably blow right through and be fine. But if you look, this is the exit hole. I saw that arrow sticking out, and this is what's amazing to me. I thought I was screwed. I thought that arrow hit that shoulder and stopped dead, and that I was going to maybe get one lung, and that deer was going to go 50 miles and either die or recover, and I would never get it. But it busted through, and actually, even though the entire shaft didn't go all the way through, If you look here, I'll show you. That's the inside. That's the exit right there. The entrance is high. It was high, but it was 18 yards, and I was about 20 feet up or more. So I had a pretty steep angle shot. So I wouldn't have really wanted to be too much lower, maybe a little bit. But really, the shot is a lot better than I thought. And I think honestly that if the arrow didn't get pulled out, I don't think I would have recovered this, because it was at that point that we found the arrow. That's where the blood trail started. There was no blood up until then. But when I cut her open, the lungs were trashed. They were both, I mean, it went right through both lungs. The entire body cavity, you can see, it was just filled with blood. I mean, completely. It was like cutting open a balloon. And she just bled right out. And I found her, it was 96 yards from where we found the arrow. And she probably ran about 50 from where I shot her till where that arrow came out. So 150 yards total. I mean, she was probably dead in under a minute at the speed that she was going. So she ran a little bit, and she stopped maybe once or twice to put out those big pools of blood there that I saw on the blood trail towards the end. And then she went down and croaked, and that was it. So I got to get, it's warm out here, so I got to get her quartered down and get her in the cooler and get her on ice. But yeah, I harvested a black bear. This was the arrow setup, 512 grain total arrow mass. I got a 150 grain Kudupoint on there. I'm going to spin it. I haven't spin checked it yet, but it looked like it hammered through that bone with nothing. I mean, it looks like it's ready to wipe the blood off and polish it up and put it back in the quiver. So good shape. Honestly, like I said, I was terrified when I saw it running off with that arrow sticking out of its high shoulder shot like that. I thought there was no way. And then I climbed down, and there was no sign, there was no blood, there was no anything to follow, and I just wanted to cry. I didn't think, I was like, oh my God, it's gone. There's no way. But yeah, I mean, it did the job. I would have liked to see a complete pass-through, but for it to like basically 10-ring this shoulder blade, bust through the shoulder, come out, and it took, I think it busted a rib on the inside on this side, and then it came out and it's just slipped between two ribs here, and it must have been, the broadhead must have been sticking out. I'd say there was probably about 6 inches of arrow, so it was probably sticking out about 6 inches on this side, and I'm thinking that the broadhead probably just caught on a tree or something, and it just ripped it the rest of the way out as she was running by. But that was great because that opened up those holes and just let her start bleeding, and within 75 yards she was bleeding like hell. So that's what happened. I got me a bear. So good luck to everybody that's out there still. I'm going to be out there trying to fill my deer tag. Hey guys, Henry back at you. So I got home. I finished cleaning up my bear carcass and got it all cleaned up. And I actually got it on the ice right now in my bathroom. I'm just kind of draining into the shower. I got it tipped up on this piece of I-beam here with the valve open and just some ice on there, so I'm going to let it all age for, here, turn the light on. So I'm going to let all the meat age for a few days before I package it up. But I just wanted to take one more look at the arrow. So I did, there was a loose fletching. It was still attached a little bit, but so I ended up just tearing that off the rest of the way. I just got to refletch it. And the nock was broken, so it actually, the bulb still worked, but the nock part was gone. So I tossed that. But I did spin check the arrow, and it still spins perfect, which I'm actually surprised. I'm using these stock gold tip half-outs here, and they're the aluminum ones. And I have had issues with these. If I hit something, you know, miss the target or something when I'm practicing, sometimes they will bend. Or if you hit like the piece of rebar or the pipe or whatever inside of a 3D target, sometimes they'll bend. So I really was expecting this to be bent. And I was actually planning on switching over to stainless steel ones next year, just because I'm not like super thrilled with how the aluminum ones happen to bend like that sometimes. But surprisingly, actually, it did not happen in this case. So that was not what I was expecting, but I'm happy, so that's pretty cool. And then the other thing, I just wanted to take a look at the head itself. So it still spins perfect. It's not bent or anything. It's actually still relatively sharp. I mean, it's not hunt ready sharp anymore. It's been dulled out a little bit, so I'll have to touch it back up, but it's really not too bad. But in terms of durability, it really is looking pretty good. Here, sorry, I'll get it in front of the camera. But the edge on it is looking real good. There's no chips. It doesn't seem like it rolled over too bad or that it shattered too bad. The only point that I saw any type of real damage to it, right on. Bear with me, my phone is not gonna want to focus. But right on the bleeder blade, I got a little tiny bit. So I'll probably try and clean that up a little bit. But otherwise, it's looking like it's in pretty good shape. It still spins true. So it is ready to just be sharpened up and go back in the quiver. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with the arrow performance. I mean, I would have liked to see a full pass through on it. But given kind of where the shot placement was, which I could have helped myself a little bit, putting it right on the shoulder of a bear is probably not. I mean, there's a reason why they tell you not to shoot it there. But all things considered, I think if I was shooting a light, 350 grain arrow with a mechanical head on it, I would be singing a totally different tune right now. I don't think that there's any way I would have gotten the penetration that I got. So I think that, I mean, this basically was that plan B situation that we all talk about. You put a shot in maybe not so great of a spot, and really it wasn't a bad spot. I double lunged it and it died in 150 yards in probably under a minute or less. So really, it was a good shot. But there just happened to be the shoulder blade in the way there. So that's kind of exactly what we all talk about, is like, sometimes your equipment choices can make a marginal shot into a good one. And that's pretty much what I think happened to me here today, or yesterday rather. Like I said, if it was a light arrow setup, if I had made some different choices, I think I would have been not nearly as well off as I am. Next time for sure, I'll definitely try and remember to, hold off a little bit back and try and sneak it in behind that shoulder. But I think for a little bit softer of a target, like maybe a deer or something like that, I think that this arrow would have blown right through it. Damn near blew right through this, all the way through. So I may still end up going to the stainless steel inserts, which is going to add a little bit more weight for next year. So I may kind of play with my setup a little more and try and get maybe up into like the 550, type of area as far as the weight. But overall, I'm, for my first real testing of this arrow setup, I'm really happy with how it went. And this broadhead too. Oh, that's one more thing I wanted to mention too. People, I've heard a lot of people saying that the single bevel broadheads, like these Accuttoughs in particular, but just kind of single bevels in general, that they produce poor blood trails. Which I guess, it's just anecdotal evidence, but at least in this case, I had a poor blood trail in the beginning, but that's just because the arrow was blocking the hole. But once that arrow came out, or, had I gotten a full pass-through, which is obviously, why we're all looking for the full pass-through, is to get the blood trail, but, supposing that had happened, once the arrow came out, the blood trail was a little slow in the beginning, and the drops were small, and they were far apart. But I think that also has to do with the type of animal, too. I mean, that bear had a nice thick layer of fat on it, and plus all the hair. Bears, if I understand correctly, are kind of noted to not bleed well. But after a little bit, the blood trail was slow to start. But once I got on it and got with it, and that arrow came out, and once she... Oh, and another thing, too, my shot was kind of high, so like I said, the cavity of the chest cavity was completely full of blood. Had it been a little bit lower of a shot, maybe she wouldn't have had to fill up so much. But towards the end, that blood trail was looking good. I mean, it got a lot easier to follow. Like I said, there was some big patches of blood where you could definitely see that she was bleeding out pretty good. So I think I was pretty fortunate. I got a pretty decent blood trail once I got on it and got going. So overall, I'm pretty happy. I'd say I'm 90% happy, or maybe 95% happy. Yeah, I would have liked the full pass-through. But at the end of the day, I made an okay shot. I hit the shoulder, and the arrow still got in there and took out both lungs, and I was able to recover the animal. So At the end of the day, I think that's what we're all trying to do. So I'm going to call that a success. So thanks for watching, guys. Good luck out there if you're still out there in the field. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.